So I'm just going to talk you through the first couple of questions on the worksheet that I've asked you to work through. So the first thing we need to identify is that we are trying to sketch a cos function and that we are working in degrees and that we've been asked to sketch one cycle, one period that means. So let's just write down the general formula of a cos function as to so far. We've got a cos, and at the moment it's bx plus d. So we're dealing with the amplitude, we can see here is 4. There is the coefficient of x is 1, so therefore the period remains the same. A period of cos is 360 degrees. And then d is the vertical shift. Well, there is no value of d on this, so we don't need to worry about the value of d. So I'm going to first of all mark the key places on my sketch on the axes. So 180 degrees, we've got 270, and then 360 degrees. The only change or the transformation that's happened here is the amplitude is 4. So if we use each of these as 1, 2, 3, 4, and then -1, -2, -3, -4, what I'm going to do is think, well, the first cos begins normally with an amplitude of 1 here, so therefore I'm going to begin up here. And then I'm going to follow all the way down with a regular cos just curve. Only the amplitude is 4, that's the only change. And then try and draw a smooth curve all the way through. All right, now let's go on to the second example. Similarly, we look at the things. We're only drawing one cycle. We're dealing with a sine function here, and we are now in radians. So let's have a look with the general formula. We've got y equals a sine bx plus d. Well, a is 1, so the amplitude is just 1. b is 1, so the period is just 2 pi because we're in radians, and d is 3. When you have a vertical shift of 3, that means we are moving up in the vertical direction by 3 places. Now, if each of these is worth 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just go 0, -1, -2, -3, -4, and -5, I'm going to draw a dotted line along the line where x is, well, where y is 3. And that's going to be my equilibrium position. When I sketch this function here, I'm going to treat this dotted line as my x-axis. So on the x-axis, I'm still going to put the main key features, so pi upon 2, pi, 3 pi upon 2, and 2 pi, only I'm going to use this as my x-axis. So sine usually starts at 0, 0, so of course we're going to start at 0, 3. And we've only got an amplitude of 1, so I only need to go up by 1, and where normally pi upon 2 is. Then obviously it comes back down through the x-axis, then it comes down here, and then up here. So I've literally drawn one cycle with the amplitude of 1. It's a very flat sort of curve, and I've now, it's not a very good curve, I probably need to make that a bit smoother, but that is how you would sketch a graph where you've got a vertical shift change. Now, let me do one last example where I'm going to now do the graph of y equals sine 3x. Same process. We look that we're dealing in degrees here, and I'm going to put my just basic formula down, a sine bx plus d. I notice that a is 1, b is 3, so that means that's affected the period. D is 0, so I don't need to worry about that. I'm going to be working on my x-axis here. The amplitude is 1, so I only need to go from 0, 1, and then down to -1. I've got my y-axis. I should be labelling my axes, which I didn't do in the previous two, which is a bit naughty. Never mind. Now, let's look at this period. So value of b is 3. So over on the right, I'm just going to do some working here. Period, as we're in degrees, is 360 divided by the value of b. So if I do 360 divided by 3, I get that the period is now 120 degrees. So simply when I draw my sketch, all I've got to do is know that one cycle goes up to 120 degrees. Hang on. So I'm now just going to split that number in half and then in half again. So this, because remember there are 4 main points on this graph. So 120, half it gives me 60, half again gives me 30, and then that means I need to add 30 in between the 60 and the 120, which gives me 90. Now that's going to be one cycle of this function here. So all I'm going to do is draw the sine function just with these numbers now. So sine starts at 0, 0, goes up to the amplitude of 1, back down through the x-axis, down to the amplitude of -1, and then up to the x-axis. And I'm simply going to draw a smooth curve through my points, which, again, don't forget you can check all of these on your graphics calculator. Good luck.